Now on GMU at 6, Governor Spencer Cox declares a state of emergency ahead of Inauguration Day. How Utah is preparing for violence at home.
And preparing for a potential protest at the state capitol. See how security is ramping up across Salt Lake in a live report.
Plus, Brian and Sarah, I am tracking your air quality, brought to you by UCare. Stay tuned. I have all the updates.
Then more teachers getting vaccines today in Utah. Which districts are getting their shots?
Live from Utah's first TV station, Good Morning Utah at 6 starts now.
Good morning, Utah. I'm Brian Carlson.
And I'm Sarah Martin. It is 6 a.m. on this Friday morning.
And we begin with Utah Governor Spencer Cox declaring a state of emergency. It comes over concern for a planned siege at the Utah State Capitol leading up to the presidential inauguration. Governor Cox released a statement saying of it, quote, "We respect the right of Utah residents to peaceably assemble as guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution. But we draw the line at threats to physical safety or to the Utah Capitol building. No violence of any kind will be tolerated." The governor has asked the Utah National Guard, the Highway Patrol, and a number of police departments to stand ready to protect the safety of lives and property at Utah's Capitol.
We are still days away from inauguration, but already government buildings, businesses bracing for possible violence. ABC4's Jared Jatnini is live at our state capitol where there is increased security. Jared.
Sarah, the Utah Highway Patrol says the next permitted protest here at the Capitol is this Sunday, and despite no visible barricades outside the Capitol this hour, UHP says they have beefed up security inside, preparing for potential demonstrations leading up to and following Inauguration Day. UHP and the FBI say the deadly riots at the nation's capital are the reason for taking an abundance of caution. All agencies preparing for possible armed protests. UHP saying it has received credible threats against the Capitol, so they've ramped up security inside, and should troopers need it, SLCPD will be assisting. The city and county buildings and other government buildings in the path of the Capitol also boarded up windows. FBI agents say they're ready on standby to hit the streets, not to stop people from protesting, but to make sure no one is breaking the law.
We don't want to get involved in any way whatsoever with people's First Amendment right to protest peacefully. But when individuals start engaging in violence and inciting violence and violating the law, we won't leave any stone unturned.
And take a look at this video from over the summer during the Black Lives Matter protest. You can see parts of the Capitol damaged with spray paint. Law enforcement agencies are trying to prevent this from happening again, and also trying to prevent the riots that we saw similar to the ones in the nation's capital. Back out here live again, no visible barricades this hour. There is an increased security inside the Capitol City this morning, preparing for potential protests over the weekend. Reporting live, Jared Jatnini, ABC4 News.
Thank you much, Jared. A Utah man is now being charged for allegedly being part of last week's deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol. Prosecutors used video he recorded of the violence to build their case against him. This is the video of self-proclaimed video journalist John Earl Sullivan. He filmed as pro-Trump rioters stormed through the barricades and scaled walls to breach the U.S. Capitol. He shared the video on YouTube and, when asked, later shared it with the FBI. Sullivan's charges include entering a restricted building or grounds without authority, civil disorder, and violent entry or disorderly conduct.
The passenger is accused of harassing Utah Senator Mitt Romney while traveling from Salt Lake to D.C., now banned from flying with Delta. That's according to a Reuters report saying a total of 880 people now in Delta's no-fly list for a number of reasons, some for not complying with mask requirements, others for, quote, harassing other passengers or unruly behavior related to the U.S. election results. The Federal Aviation Administration also enforcing stricter policies against those unruly passengers. In a recent post on Twitter, the FAA announced a new executive order saying, quote, directing the agencies to take strong action against any passenger who disrupts or threatens the safety of a flight, with penalties ranging from fines to jail time. No warnings.
And let's check your weather out there this morning. I know, Erica, we're all looking forward to what you've got for the weekend.
Yes, and we're giving you a little bit of a warning here. Moderate air quality for some of us, Brian, but generally speaking, really nice conditions ahead, at least warmer than normal daily highs. How about that?
All right.
Not bad, right? For
Not
Friday?
bad, not bad for the weekend.
Not bad at all for the weekend. Let's take a look at our air quality here. So we see some of us have done better over the past 24 hours, including Box Elder, Tooele County, Weber County as well. But we're still sitting under the influence of that ridge of high pressure, so we can't take it for granted. We do have to still be mindful of the air quality, moderate for many of us, including here in Salt Lake County. Now, we do have to wear a mask anyway, so good news there. That's going to help us out. Current temperature in Salt Lake City hasn't budged much, 24 degrees. Cedar City dipped just a bit, 21 for you now. St. George dipped by 1 degree at 34, Blanding 27, Ely 15, and Elko currently at 23 degrees. Rock Springs 22, Provo 17, and Vernal a pair of 1s right now. It's cold for you. Let's head on over to Delta at 10 degrees. And as we take a look at our current temperature, still not budging there. There we go. Let's go to our next product. Here it is, drive times. Why not? You know what? They were like, nothing's happening out there. Why do we need to get to drive times? Let's see, US 91 northbound Brigham City to Logan currently at 31 minutes. Normal drive time 28 minutes. And US 91 southbound Logan to Brigham City 28 minutes. And hey, we are 1 minute ahead, so go get there. Bye-bye. Back to you.
I will do. Thank you much, Erica. And here's a heads up for drivers in Salt Lake County who take Mountain View Corridor. Crews will perform a blast at the Juniper Crest Quarry this afternoon from 2 to 4. And so because of that, the Utah Highway Patrol will temporarily close Mountain View Corridor there in Salt Lake County in that area during that time.
Happening today, educators in the Granite and Jordan districts will begin getting their COVID-19 vaccines. All staff 55 years or older are eligible to get those first doses. Granite and Jordan, the latest in a number of Salt Lake County districts getting the vaccine this week. Teachers should keep an eye on their email for clinic times and locations.
And starting this morning, people in Davis County over the age of 70 can schedule their COVID-19 vaccine. Online scheduling begins at 8 o'clock. That's online at daviscountyutah.gov. You'll need an email address and schedule for up to 2 people. Appointment times begin Tuesday at the Legacy Event Center in Farmington. According to the health department, there are more than 25,000 people in that age group.
As you're deciding to get the COVID-19 vaccine, what safety precautions should you consider? Doctors at the University of Utah say it really depends on previous reactions to vaccines and other medications. Right now, the CDC investigating the case of Dr. Gregory Michael. Michael's wife says he died after having serious reaction to the vaccine, but it's not confirmed yet if there is a connection.
Keep in mind that it's still incredibly unusual. So, of course, we're accruing data.
Doctors say some of the serious reactions they've seen so far: hives, flushing, swelling of the airways, and itching. They say it's best to have a conversation with your doctor prior to getting the vaccine.
And you may be surprised at what goes into distributing the COVID-19 vaccine. It isn't as simple as just injecting a needle. Every dose, every recipient has to be tracked and reported. A federal system follows every vial of the vaccine from production all the way to a recipient's arm. And then it must be recorded. Many states say computer problems or software flaws have slowed down that process.
New this morning, a study has found that a number of people who lose their sense of taste and smell to COVID-19 may never get it back. According to the Deseret News, that study found 86% of patients with mild cases of COVID-19 lose their sense of taste and smell. About 15% of those patients didn't get them back even after 60 days, and almost 5% didn't get those senses back after 6 months. Happening today, people in southern Utah getting more information about vaccination plans in their part of the state. Doctors at Intermountain Healthcare will give an update on pandemic efforts in southern cities and who will be the next to get those vaccines. That update happens this afternoon.
And here's your morning update on COVID-19. Utah had 2,700 new cases yesterday. That brings our state total now to 317,000. More than 133,000 Utahns have received the vaccine. 559 COVID patients are currently being treated in hospitals across the state. 11 more Utahns have died for a total of 1,460. If you look at our last 7 days, you see our daily case totals popping up. Right now we're averaging more than 2,500 new cases a day. That's the green line on your screen. Our testing positivity rate right now is 26%.
Utah doctors say they are seeing more children being admitted to the hospital for COVID-19, especially compared with last summer. Intermountain Healthcare says they have seen an increase in COVID-19 patients in the last week, including a rise in children. Doctors say the holiday surge is coming down, but we can't rest easy.
I think we're seeing a trend of decrease in test positivity. We don't have any big family-based holidays coming up in January and February. And so I'm hoping that we can really drive that community prevalence down during this time period. as we're getting vaccinations going up.
Doctors say vaccinating the most vulnerable first will ultimately take a lot of pressure off of our hospitals so they can care for people no matter their diagnosis.
And happening today, President-elect Joe Biden will release his administration's COVID-19 vaccine plan. It's called the American Rescue Plan. Biden says he wants to administer 100 million vaccines by his 100th day of his administration. We'll get more details on that plan this afternoon at 1:45.
And President Biden, President-elect Joe Biden, laying out his plan for economic recovery once he takes office. In an address last night, Biden unveiled his plan to fund vaccinations across the country and send direct relief to families struggling from COVID-19. So it proposes $1,400 stimulus checks and $400 weekly boost for those on unemployment for 6 more months. The package expected to be Biden's first major legislative push when he takes office on Wednesday.
Starting today, jury trials will begin again in Utah courts. The state is launching its jury trial pilot project today. The project was delayed in late November over a spike of COVID-19 during the holidays. Utah is among the majority of states that restricted trials during our pandemic. A judge will explain how the new program works, like selecting jurors in video conference calls and testing them before they arrive in court. That's happening this afternoon.
New this morning, a state liquor store in Park City temporarily closing. The Park Record reports the liquor store on Swede Alley will close for several weeks because of a staffing shortage. The other 2 local stores will still be open.
Time now 6:11. Coming up on GMU, Samsung introducing its newest line of smartphones. See why this year's model is hundreds of dollars cheaper. A new series takes a closer look at how the government spied and harassed Martin Luther King Jr. Our film critic Tony Toscano has the review. But first, here's what's coming up on Good Morning America.
In this morning's GMA First Look, we're taking you up close and personal with an all-female team delivering COVID-19 vaccines by snowmobile through the harsh conditions of rural Alaska. If the teams didn't make these trips, some of these people would have no way to get the vaccine. Once they land, villagers drive out to them on snowmobiles. The women load up in a sled and are pulled the rest of the way into the village. In one day, this team traveled hundreds of miles, vaccinating 65 people. In the past month, various teams have made about 30 of these trips. And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll talk live to all 4 members of this intrepid team and hear the stories of their incredible quest to bring hope to the farthest reaches of our country. With your GMA First Look, I'm Kana Whitworth, ABC News, Los Angeles.